Chapter 4. When you have trust issues. Do you have trust issues? I've often found that people use the term trust issues rather loosely without giving proper thought to how severe this concern is. Having trust issues and admitting to it is a matter you should consider in a serious light. In this chapter, you'll learn all you need to know about trust issues and how to overcome this challenge. What are trust issues? Having trust issues boils down to not being able or struggling to trust anyone. There are a range of reasons these issues might present themselves in your life, and by gaining clarity on these reasons, it becomes easier to understand trust issues and how to address them effectively. Why are trust issues bad? Dealing with trust issues leaves you feeling in a constant state of distrust. When you make new acquaintances, you are wary as you don't know whether you can trust them or what they will do to break your trust. For those who have been in your life for a long time already, you are also in a constant state of fear, wondering when they are going to be disloyal to you. This becomes a state that can drive you to complete emotional exhaustion and will lead you to feeling depressed, burned out, and anxious. When you are not addressing your trust issues or even cannot recognize that this is a concern to you, you are robbing yourself of living your life to its fullest potential. Negative emotions can be consuming. When you are behaving in a manner making it evident that you are not trusting the other person regardless of how much they try to convince you otherwise, it leads to resentment, often resulting in ending the relationship. By being constantly wary and expecting the worst, you are exhausting yourself emotionally to the point of burning out completely. This can even result in thoughts of self-harm, and it is something that has a negative impact on your entire being. Signs of trust issues are: you always assume that someone will betray your trust, regardless of the nature of your relationship with the person. It is one that is rooted in a lack of trust, your lack of trust. The other person most likely has never given you any reason not to trust them, but assuming that the person will act in a manner that doesn't deserve your trust is your go-to response. You anticipate that someone is betraying you. Again, the other person could have behaved like an absolute beacon of trust, but still, you expect that soon he or she will betray you. You are silently just waiting for that moment. It is almost as if you are waiting for the betrayal so you can get up and shout, "I knew it!" While these are the two most predominant signs that you have trust issues, we also need to explore the symptoms that you are suffering from trust issues. Symptoms of trust issues. There are several symptoms that indicate that your lack of trust controls your life. While the symptoms I mentioned below can leave you in a state of detriment, this is normally not where it all stops. The effect of having trust issues ripples out much wider and can consume your whole life. Afraid of commitment. You prefer to avoid any kind of relationship that requires commitment from you. You might love your romantic partner deeply, but the moment your relationship requires an act of showing your commitment, you are against it and will even go to the lengths of breaking things off just to avoid commitment. Distancing themselves. People struggling with trust issues distance themselves from others. They are the ones who will seldom share any personal information, remain reserved, and keep themselves scarce. Do you keep your distance to avoid rejection or betrayal? Overly protective. Are you overly protective of your loved ones? It is normal to feel that you want to protect those near and dear to you, but when it gets to a point where your level of protectiveness becomes smothering and is fueled by your fear that they will leave you or become disloyal to you, you are facing a challenge with trust. Struggle to forgive. Those who struggle with trust issues have a tremendously hard time to forgive. This is because they witness any mistake as an action of betrayal. Even the smallest blunders will become a dramatic ordeal and they just won't forgive you. Social isolation. At the few social gatherings those with trust issues attend, you'll find them lingering away from the conversations. They don't trust people and are completely wary of others. They don't make acquaintances easily and would suspect anyone's friendly attempts. The result of the latter is that if you have trust issues, your life becomes very lonely and isolated. It is the perfect space for depression to step in and take over your entire life. Self-sabotaging behavior. It is quite common for those who are suffering from severe lack of trust to act in a manner that will sabotage their relationships. They operate from the stance that they are so convinced that their partner will break their trust and betray them that they decide to behave in ways that will cause enough conflict so that the relationship ends. By doing this, they believe that while the relationship is bound to fail at some point, they will take control and determine when it does. It also leaves them with a new excuse about why the relationship didn't work out, and this is an escape from dealing with inherent concerns, which will only sink their next relationship too. Jealousy. A little healthy jealousy can be endearing. Many people might even consider having a partner that is slightly jealous as attractive. Yet, jealousy that is spinning out of control can become so severe that it results in breaking up. Jealousy comprises our thoughts, the emotions we experience, and our behavioral patterns. When we experience jealousy, it presents itself in our cognitive functions through concerns, suspicions, and irrational thoughts that consume our minds. On an emotional side, it induces feelings of being upset, and this all spills over into our behavior. It is when partners go through each other's belongings, their phones, hacking into their emails, and not respecting each other's privacy. Are you someone who often snoops around your partner's things to see what he or she is up to? Let's explore the causes of trust issues. Types of trust issues. Trust issues play a role in mostly 3 areas of your life, and therefore we can divide them into 3 different types. Trust issues in your romantic relationships. Romantic relationships demand mutual trust if you want to enjoy a happy and lasting relationship with your partner. It is also why this is the most prominent type of trust issue found. If there is a lack of trust towards your romantic partner, your relationship will become extremely volatile. It will leave your partner with uncertainty, and most likely it will cause eventual infidelity. As you are unwilling to commit to the relationship, it will be impossible for the relationship to grow too, and this will eventually result in conflict that can be devastating. Trust issues in friendships. As we progress in life, we make friends. Some friends are in your life for a short while, but you also need lasting friendships. If you have trust issues, you will experience difficulty not only to keep your friendships alive, but also to make friends. These issues have a way of pushing you, and you constantly question the loyalty of your friends, demand more than what is necessary, and reject people when they can't live up to your high demands. Trust issues in the workplace. Depending on what career you are in, the workplace can be a rather competitive environment. There are a few opportunities for growth, promotions, and to expand your career. This is not always the case though, but if you struggle with trust issues in the workplace, it consistently appears that way to you. Have you ever behaved in a manner that will undermine your coworkers, stabbing them in the back just because you don't trust them? Do you ever behave in a way that resembles the kind of betrayal you fear others will do to you? This kind of behavior is non-productive and extremely bad for any workplace environment. What causes trust issues? Life is complex. During your life, you've had to endure a vast range of experiences, and while some must have been good, I am also sure that you've had your fair share of unpleasant experiences too. These can leave a lasting mark on your personality, like causing you to have trust issues. Childhood adversity. There are many ways children can experience trauma. As a child, you don't have the experience, knowledge, and skills to brace yourself against these adversities. Children are also often in a vulnerable position and feel helpless when they have these unpleasant experiences. Maybe your caregivers have abandoned you. Your parents might have given you up for adoption. You might have constantly felt overseen in your home. Even if you have a sibling that is constantly overachieving or sometimes even sick and requires more attention from your parents, it can lead to childhood trauma. This form of neglect often results in adults having to deal with trust issues. An unfaithful partner. Infidelity is one of the principal causes of trust issues. In many ways, this is perceived as the worst form of betrayal. You've made yourself vulnerable to someone else, shared your entire life with the person and planned a future together, and then you learn about their infidelity. When you've been so intimate as one normally is with a romantic partner, the betrayal cuts extremely deeply and leaves a mental and emotional scar that can take a long time to heal. Mistreatment as a form of abuse. Have you ever been, or maybe still are, in a relationship where the person you are with manipulates you? Maybe they mistreat you and set certain outrageous demands for you to meet, which is impossible to achieve. It can also be that you experience abuse, which may be emotional, verbal, sexual, or physical. I've had cases where one partner deliberately isolated the other from friends and family, removing them from their support systems and trusted networks. There are many ordeals that people suffer at the hand of their romantic partners, and if you were or are a victim of such behavior, it is understandable that you have trust issues. Conflict and divorce of parents. Many divorced parents would often go out of their way to ensure their children that they are not in any way responsible for the divorce. Yet even if this is the case, I've still seen many times how adults would still struggle with trust issues stemming from constant parental conflict or divorce. If there is one relationship most people want to last forever, then it is their parents' relationship with each other. This is the first romantic relationship you are ever exposed to, and to many, it remains the benchmark to which they measure their own future romantic endeavors. Any form of trauma. There are many ways that trauma can present itself in our lives. This trauma can at certain times be so subtle that you don't even realize that you are experiencing trauma. I am referring here to events besides being mugged or a victim of any criminal activity. Maybe you've lost a loved one because of the negligence of a doctor, then you are bound to have trust issues regarding medical professionals. Another example would be to have a family killed in a car accident caused by a drunk driver, and then the accused gets away with it. Then you might develop trust issues regarding the legal system. One common factor which all of these causes of trust issues have in common is that you are a victim. You didn't choose for these dramatic events to take place in your life, and yet you are bearing the scars caused by their impact. Does this mean that there is nothing you can do? No. I beg you to become a survivor of these events and not a victim. You have the power to take control of your life and to combat your issues with trust effectively, to live a life filled with people you love and, most importantly, trust. How to overcome trust issues? Accept the risk. There is one certainty in life, and that is death. We all know that one day our time on earth will expire. This is not a reason to stagnate and stay in bed all day, but should rather be inspiration to live fully. When you get into your car or even a taxi, you are taking the risk that you might be in an accident. When you board a plane, you know it might crash. Still, you continue with your life and accept the risk, knowing that the odds of experiencing the worst outcome are rather slim. Now, do the same with trust. Yes, there are people in the world who are not worthy of your trust, but it is not everyone. If your trust was betrayed in the past, consider it as a vital lesson learned and improve on your choices. But know that not everyone is like that, and by refusing to see that, you are only damaging your own future. Life is risky. Still, I wish you to live it to the fullest. Determine the cause of your concern. I provided you with several causes of trust issues. This is not an exhaustive list, and whatever is the root of your concerns might not be on it. Nobody knows what is going on in your heart and mind, and that is why nobody is better equipped than yourself to determine where your trust issues are rooted. It requires the bravery to dig deep into your being to determine what causes it all. Only then can you address this effectively. Learn all there is to know about trust. There are two predominant approaches to trust. Either people will trust another until they break that trust, or they will only trust someone once that person earned their trust. Neither of these approaches is wrong, and people have lived happy lives following either approach. Thus, if you struggle to just trust people, be kind to yourself and know that it is fine to let people earn your trust first. as long as you are open to the possibility that they might just not disappoint you. Work towards trust. In every relationship that you have, act in a manner that instills trust in the other person and work towards increasing this level of trust. Ask yourself if your judgments about someone else are fair and just. While one attorney might have scorched your trust, not all attorneys are the same, and the one you are dealing with might just be a wonderful person and someone you can trust. Be honest in your communication. Secrets can crumble friendships and romantic relationships. If you don't want your partner or friend to have secrets they hide away from you, then you should also not keep secrets from them. Follow an approach where you're not only communicating often with the other person, but also do so in an authentic and honest manner. Who do you trust? Are there people whom you already allow into your circle of trust? Seek them out. Express your appreciation of them. Never take something as valuable as a trustworthy partner or friend for granted. Trust and repeat. We only fail at something when we stop trying. This is the same for recovering from your trust issues. Work on these issues for as long as it takes. Every time you fail, consider it as just another lesson learned and something you can apply to do it better next time around. Trust issues at work and how to overcome them. Trust in the workplace is likely the most complex form of trust, as it has so many dimensions to it. It is necessary to ensure a workplace that is running optimally and that a collaboration takes place effectively. It requires that peers work together to achieve the common goal and that leaders provide their teams with the necessary motivation to reach their objective. We can divide trust in the workplace into 3 types. Trust that the leaders instill in their team, trust that the leaders have in their team, and trust amongst members of the team. When there are trust issues in the office, it is often the result of poor communication either from the top down or between members on the same level. Poor communication leads to a lack of transparency that can cause demotivated employees, and the result is poor work performance and a lack of productivity. This negatively impacts the profitability of the business and results in poorer job security of employees. Thus, once trust issues rear their head within a business environment, it is to everyone's benefit to resolve these concerns speedily and effectively. When trust is present in an office environment, it leads to better teamwork and members that are optimistic about collaborating with each other. These are environments where there are lower stress levels. Employees enjoy far greater job satisfaction and remain loyal to their employer. This leads to greater employee retention rates. Sometimes change is necessary to ensure profitability. When you have an office environment with a high level of trust, it is much easier to make changes without battling employee resistance. Tips that can help to improve trust within the workplace are: create regular opportunities for communication down and up on the chain of authority. Always be honest and transparent in communication. If you've made promises, stick to them. Even set deadlines by when these promises will be fulfilled. If information is important, make sure that you share it with everyone impacted by it. Make sure you communicate any instructions, assignments, or tasks clearly, and that the person responsible for completing the task has clarity about your expectations. Finally, the golden rule of life remains to treat everyone else as you would like to be treated. A final word. Trust is a concept that can be challenging to understand, and even more so if you are battling with trusting others. There are many reasons you might have trust issues, and those issues can have an immensely negative impact on your life. Yet you always have the freedom to choose to be different and to change your life. So follow the step that I've shared and begin the journey towards the life you desire. Some of these concerns might be new to your life and they'll be easier to change, while others are more challenging to overcome. As children, we perceive the world differently, and while we grow up and would have a completely unique experience if the same events have to repeat itself, we still hold on to the emotions we've experienced as children. It is why I want to expand much more on how to overcome trust issues that are related to your inner child in the next chapter.